want to go across to Supriya on some of the reportage that we just put out. We spoke a lot about Dotex. We in fact sent a reporter down. We looked at the Ministry of Corporate Affairs Registrar of Companies filings. It seems quite clear, A, that it's a guest house, so the charge that Smriti Irani leveled about this being a shell company, that there is no real activity that they are involved in. A, your response to that charge. And the second point, which comes out of the report that we just put out after speaking to the company secretaries, judges and experts on company law, which is about there was a cleaner way to do this deal, which is to sell the real estate assets of AJL rather than finding a way of transferring assets belonging to 5,000 individuals or 5,000 families to 4 individuals at the helm of the Gandhi family, at the helm of the Congress party. Supriya.
Thank you for having me on the show. I will first start off with saying, which is my position and has always been on this case, where is the scheduled offence? Where is the FIR? How is ED questioning a PMLA case? I want that answer. That answer hasn't come from the government. That answer hasn't come from ED. My second point, and I think that's a point I want to make and make with some emphasis, my colleagues are being beaten up. Women's clothes, Jyoti Mani's clothes have been torn. We saw how JB Mathur was being pulled mercilessly by the police. I denounce every bit of how the Delhi police and how dare it enter the Congress headquarters and treat our people the way they did. To answer your question first, I want to give you an example, and that example is important to give because I think the wider audience should understand what are we debating and why are we, why is it malicious. You and I buy a lakh of shares each of Indian hotels that owns the Taj, the Taj hotels, the Indian hotel, the Taj group of hotels. You and I buy a share, 1 lakh each of shares. Does it give us the right to a presidential suite in the Taj? No, it does not, no matter how many shares we buy. Because please understand what has happened. You keep saying assets are being owned by Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi. Assets have been transferred. Not a single asset was transferred from AJL. The 700 plus shareholders of AJL continue to be shareholders of AJL. Young Indian is one more such shareholder. Please also understand.
Which owns 99% of the assets. Which owns 99% of the equity of AJL and therefore virtually all the assets. The shareholders who earlier had 100% of the shareholding are now down to 1%.
Good point you're making. But again, a point that lacks actually the substance of what I'm trying to say. That's an academic argument you are making. Because the 99% that you keep talking about, it's actually a 98%, is owned by a company which is a Section 25 company, not for profit. So it's an academic exercise. You can own 1 share or you can own 1,000 shares if you are not going to be the fiscal beneficiary.
Even if it is academic, I'd love to own assets worth hundreds of crores. I don't know. You've been a business journalist. I don't know how you're calling this an academic exercise. This is a real transfer
Rahul,
of shareholding. You can hold the only point, and I want to put that to. I'll put your point. Rather than join argument with you, let me put that point to Shehzad Poonawalla. The one straw that she can hang on to is that no, you've spoken for 3 minutes. Supriya, don't complain. You've spoken for 3 minutes. Supriya, you've spoken for 3 minutes. Let's get an opening comment from Shehzad. I'm coming back. I've asked her 3 questions. I can't be bullied like this. No. So Shehzad, no, this is not unfair. You've spoken for 3 minutes. Let the other guy have a chance. Shehzad Poonawalla, the argument that Supriya makes is that this is an academic transfer of assets, which is not. There's no, in asset transfer, there's no academic transfer. It's a real transfer of assets, not a notional transfer of assets. But the argument she makes, and Chidambaram made that point, is that no money is being taken out. It's not like Rahul or Sonia, Motilal Vora or Oscar Fernandez have sold any of the assets and therefore not benefited from it. And therefore, you can't say that this is money laundering because no money is being taken out. That's the point that Chidambaram and now Supriya.
Rahul, let me make very important clarifications about how Mr. Chidambaram has been spin doctoring using the platform of this channel. First of all, they said that there's no FIR in this case. ED does not file FIRs, it files what is called an ECIR. And an FIR is a starting point of investigation, it goes to court, court takes cognizance. In this matter, since Subramaniam Swamy had gone to court first, the court had taken cognizance and directed that there should be action under 403, 406, 420, 120B, and 420 and 120B, by the way, are scheduled offences under PMLA Section 3 for money laundering. Okay, so there was was a ECIR that was registered. I have the Hindu report also confirming this fact. So there is an ECIR. And let me give you one more example. In the last year, there was an attachment of ED of these properties. Mr. Motilal Vora and Oscar Fernandez, God bless their souls, were also investigated. If there was no FIR, ECIR, and this was happening, the great Mr. Chidambaram did not go to court once saying that why are you harassing my colleagues without an FIR? That wasn't their argument 3 days ago. Now, secondly, let me come to the point about the transfer of the assets. Rahul, there is something called beneficial interest in assets. So, for instance, if they had such good noble intentions, AJL had taken a loan from Congress Party could have waived it and kept the shares with AJL itself. They did not. Their shares got transferred to YI for 50 lakh rupees, which was taken from Dotex, which is a big question mark. And YI had only 2 major shareholders, Rahul and Sonia, 78%. And YI, by the way, had no charitable activity from 2010 to 16. It did not run the newspaper till 2016. So what about their charity under the Section 8, Section 25 company? More importantly, if you wanted to only do some favor to AJL, Congress could have waived off the loan in favor of AJL. But they did not. And AJL shares, when it went to young Indians, people like Kaju and people like Shantilal Bhushan were defrauded because they were not told. Please, Supriya, you will get an opportunity. I request you. We are having a good debate. Lastly, no money or... please, Rahul, I beg your indulgence. Rahul, I beg your indulgence.
Supriya, let me speak.
Third point that Mr. Chidambaram said, कि not a single rupee has gone to Rahul Gandhi. I don't believe Mr. Chidambaram, he's out on bail. I believe the income tax, which slapped a notice of 100 crores saying that this undisclosed income was there in favor of Rahul and Sonia, which was the income they generated from Young India, which started renting out these properties. And forget income tax. They will say, ye bhi bika hua hai. They challenged this income tax order in Supreme Court and High Court, and the Supreme Court, High Court upheld this. And lastly,
you're making too many. No, one second.
But you understood what I'm trying to say.
One second, let's take it one at a time. We have enough time on the debate.
Right.